Welcome to the Real Estate of Tomorrow podcast. This is Edgardo Valentine, and I am with
his better co-host, Scott DeGregorio. What's going on, bro?
How you doing, man?
This is the first episode since the settlement.
Yes,
this is the implementation of the settlement.
This is the first episode post-settlement, for
right?
Sure. So I think we've talked about what was happening with the settlement on the first version of the episode, which we'll have in the description. Then we talked about, okay, if you're a realtor, this is in theory what you should do because of the settlement. And I think right now we should just talk about, look, what has changed since the settlement? What tactics are we using with our current realtors? What questions are we getting asked from our clients and realtors? What are the misconceptions out there? Because there's a lot of freaking misconceptions too.
And what's working.
And what's working. Exactly.
Well, look, I think we should start off by going back to our original episode on this a couple of years ago. Okay. What we said in this episode was a couple of things. Number one was the thing we agreed on. This could be an apocalypse for the real estate industry.
Yes.
Okay. The second thing was, will it impact buyers agents more, listing agents more? If you remember back on that, my friend.
Yeah.
I was strongly in the buyer's agent camp, and you were wrongly in the listing agent camp.
So I love that you have to start with me being wrong.
Yeah, so I'd like to start by acknowledging that I was right and you were wrong. And I think this is an important thing.
Facts. Congratulations.
Thank you. I win jack shit for that, but I won. So whatever. I'll take what I could get. But look, it's funny, man. I talk to some agents who go, yeah, not a big deal. I use the script. I talk to some agents who I've met with 3 clients. I can't get anybody signed the damn thing.
Yeah.
I've still met with some agents that go, what's going on? And others that are just like, this is the catalyst for them to say, you know what, F this, I'm sick of the industry, I'm out.
Yeah.
So I don't know what category you want to start on, but as a plug, and we're going to throw this in the description as well, we built out a buyer's presentation deck, a buyer's agent presentation deck, and recorded a video around it on YouTube. So we'll go ahead and throw a link to that YouTube video in the description as well, because we've said it all along, and it's still proven to be the case. To leverage this at the highest level will involve having a solid buyer presentation deck, the way the vast majority of agents have listing presentation decks.
Yeah, I think we should start with kind of like the implementation and the opportunity, because in the interest of making sure that everybody gets the most out of it, I think that's really the meat of this. So look, when it comes to the settlement, I think there's a couple of things that have become non-negotiable anymore, and just the nature of the real estate sales has completely changed. Normally, you don't have to sell anything as a buyer's agent, other than kind of like continuing pushing, what is it called? Like pushing the puck, or, continue,
like moving the
needle. But there's really at no point any real like sales and closing.
Friction.
And that has completely changed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like now, when you talk to a buyer and right before you send them or you show them a house, you actually need to close them. Like you need to be able to say, okay, for us to be able to do this, you need to commit to this amount of money if we're going to close this house. So that's completely changed the way that a buyer's agent communicates with a buyer and the expectation from the buyer to the buyer's agent. So
now, in parts of the country where this hasn't been the norm.
In parts of the country,
right,
we're in Florida.
Is where we're focused.
Yeah. So one thing that's a non-negotiable at this point is having a badass buyer's presentation. Like you have to have some sort of buyer's presentation and some sort of script around the fact that, hey, I'm worth this much for you to buy this house. And you got to prepare for that. And unfortunately, there's a lot of buyer's agents that have never even had a conversation remotely like this because they're not listing agents or because their background is not in sales, and they're having a hard time with this.
Now, what I'm seeing some agents do, now look, you could obviously have a client sign a form that says this is for this house.
Right.
Okay. And the seller's paying in this house, so we don't have to worry about it, so I'm still free. We could have a form, there's a separate form for builders. Or we could have a form that basically we're getting married for 6 months or 12 months, whatever the time frame is that you put on there. Now, there's also a spot on the forms where somebody could check, don't show me houses that I would have to pay you the commission. Now, all of the agents I'm talking to that are bringing that up are equally having trouble getting people to sign it. And I was talking with an agent a couple days ago about it. They were like, they could just check that box. I go, right, but in their mind, checking that box might mean I'm telling you not to show me my dream home.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's a tough thing to digest.
Honestly, I would argue that that's a bad idea to check that box.
I would agree.
And let's get into that in a second. But again, the non-negotiables, right? Non-negotiables is you need to have, and I want you to touch on this. You need to have either a buyer's presentation, which, by the way, if you're watching this, you're listening to this on podcast or watching this on YouTube, just send us a link or comment, and we'll send you the buyer presentation deck that we have. Steal it and deploy it. It's a buyer presentation that we've created and we've perfected for a long, long time now. And it touches, basically the idea is to overcome all the obstacles that a client may have, from making the decision of buying all the way to making the decision of buying with you or not. And it basically overcomes all those obstacles before you go for the kill, before you actually ask for the sale, so that they don't become objections after that. So anyways, look at that. The other thing is, so you have to have a buyer presentation if you want the person to marry you, right? Like you just said, if you want the person to like just commit with you no matter what house it is. But you also have to have a quick script for somebody that wants to look at a house, because we know that this is the reality. A lot of clients will call you and go, hey, I want to see this house. What is it that you, what's the script that one of the realtors that we work with uses just for one particular house that's not necessarily, he doesn't necessarily have the opportunity to sit down with a client and do a full presentation, but it's a quick script that's proven to be really, to work really well for him.
Yeah, and I'll get into the script in a second, but I want to frame this out a little bit. The person I'm talking about is a diehard salesperson, like you and I are, okay? And I think that's a big thing that maybe we circle back around to. But what he says is this. He meets somebody at a property and says, look, I got two forms. One that says we're going to work together and look at these three houses today, and one that says that we're going to get married. I got to be honest, I don't know if I want to marry you. And I'm sure you don't know if you want to marry me.
Takeaways.
So, yeah, so I'm not even going to show you this second form, okay? I'm going to show you this first form that talks about these three houses. We're going to spend our time together today. We're going to look at those three houses. The seller is or isn't, whatever the details are, paying the commission. And then when we're done, I'm going to think about whether or not I want to marry you. You think about whether or not you marry me, and then we can have a discussion with that other form at the end of the day. And that is, in my opinion, and there's many ways to skin this cat, but I think that is an intelligent way of handling this. I think it's very disarming. You're right. That's the classic takeaway close from Tommy Hopkins, which is way before your time.
Shout out to Tommy.
And that and that shit still works. So that is one thing. But look, delivering a script like that, you have to come from a place of confidence.
Yeah.
Right? The delivery of those words is everything. Because if you deliver those words in a meek and timid manner, it's going to land flat and suck. And people are going to not trust you because it's going to come off like you're hiding something from them.
And look, if you're listening to this or you're watching this and you go, yeah, cool, Scott, but I don't have the confidence to say that. And honestly, there's a lot of people right now that it's like they need the commission, right?
Yeah.
So because they need the commission, they don't have the confidence of somebody that doesn't need the commission. Don't focus so much about the feeling of confidence. Just re-listen to the way that Scott just delivered that and think of the tonality of it.
Yes.
Because if you can just repeat with the same kind of tonality, it's going to sound like you're confident, even if inside you're not confident at all. So again, think of tonality rather than the feeling when you deliver that script.
I think there should be like a little round of applause inserted that you're throwing out tonality in your third language. I think that's impressive. Anyway,
it's because the word in Spanish is very close.
But look, the reality is this: like you could fake confidence.
Yes, by tonality.
Yeah, the tone, your body language, like that shit comes through. So,
anyways, going back to the basics. Number one, non-negotiable with this thing. You have to have a buyer's presentation. So basically, you got to be prepared. If you're giving 30 minutes, you need to have a buyer presentation where it's just not even fair. There's a competitive advantage for somebody to use you rather than any other buyer's agent. The good news is we know exactly what most of the buyer's presentation looks like, which is the 75 or 91 pieces that NAR put together. Oh, we're going to do marketing and I build a report and all those things. So building a buyer's presentation that's going to create some differentiation. It's very easy. You already have one that you can copy and paste and, add your own style to that one. You also have to have a very, very, very short version of that, which is what you just give. Somebody calls you, wants to look at a property, you present something like that to them, they sign, and that's it. So that's a number one non-negotiable. If we can move on, I don't know if you have something else to say on that.
No.
Okay, cool. Number two non-negotiable. We need to understand what are the ways that you can get paid as a buyer, as a buyer's agent, right?
Sure.
Because there's so much confusion on that. So one of the things that I've been talking to the realtor partners that we have a lot is, look, as soon as this lawsuit became real in everybody's mind, all the lenders started talking about the interested party contributions. Oh my God, realtors, now is the time that you need to know how much a seller can pay for seller concessions and all of these things, depending on the type of loan you have. And look, while I agree that it's important for a real estate agent to understand what the limits on the interested party contributions are, like, conventional, if they're not putting 10% down, it's 3% only. So the seller can only offer 3%. FHA is 6%. All those things. We also need to understand, and I repeat this, and even if you know this, you have to really, really know this without a shadow of a doubt, that the interested party contributions are not counting commissions.
No.
The commission is completely separate from what the seller can give as far as closing costs and interest buy downs and all those things. So on FHA, for example, or on a conventional, let's say, where the 3% is the max, they can give 3% to the buyer and still pay 3% or 4% or whatever it is to the buyer's agent. And I say this because you and I have seen a lot of our competitors send emails to our realtors saying, hey guys, you need to know this because this is how much you can get paid. That is not the case.
Yeah, or they're spinning it like, hey, look at this new program we're offering. We're not going to include it. So that's not a thing at all. And you're right. That's a huge misconception out there. And look, it's probably the third non-negotiable, but
so don't say it.
Yeah, so I guess I won't say it now, but look, you got to go in and study the game a little harder. Okay, you can't. The agents that are flippant about this, or that are flippant about real estate, and look, the challenge with the industry is you have X percentage of full-time real estate professionals, i.e., my wife. You have a larger number of other agents that they're not real estate agents; they just have an active real estate license. And that is it's a different animal. And I feel like that latter group is going to be, I feel like they're going to struggle the most with this because you need to go a little deeper on the knowledge piece of it. We need sales training and forms training, and everybody has different freaking forms. And there's, and the other piece of it is this, sitting home watching Danielle make showing appointments. Pain in the ass. She's tracking down the agents as the seller's paying. One listing agent said, my broker said I'm allowed to share that information with you.
Yeah.
So we're dealing with, the real estate community, which from a knowledge standpoint is so broad.
Yeah.
So broad that that's another challenge. So you gotta lock in a little bit on this.
Well, and part of locking in is really understanding how you as a buyer's agent can get paid. I'm sorry, but there's confidence in knowing that there's alternatives. So again, interested party contribution is not a way. What are the 4 ways that an agent can get paid? They can get paid the regular way, which is the seller offers a buyer compensation. So you get paid from the seller. They can get paid by the buyer now having to bring out of pocket extra money to the table to pay their commission. But there's also a way that they can get paid where you can increase the price of the house and ask for the seller to pay you for that. And then you can also just finance it. Now, can you really finance the commission?
Not
The
directly.
answer is no, not directly. But can you now put less of the down payment and then use what you would have normally used as a down payment and just finance that to be able to pay for the commission? Yes. Even on an FHA loan, you can now do a down payment assistance program and pay for that commission. So there's so many ways to do it that It's important that you as a buyer's agent, you have the confidence to tell your client, and it goes back to confidence to say, look, we're going to fight for the seller to pay for this. But I want you to know that beyond the seller paying for this, there's 2 or 3 other ways that we can get this compensation taken care of where it's not going to be out of pocket. And I promise you, the finances make sense. We can show with the numbers how, a buyer is going to pay $50 a month more, $30 a more, $30 a month more to use you than to not use you. And look, if you can't justify somebody paying for 2 Starbucks coffees to use you, then we need to work on the presentation.
Yeah, and that's right. Because look, we could call it 2 Starbucks. We could also say it's $10,800 over the life of the loan.
But let's not.
But some buyers will,
Right.
right? Some buyers will. And the other thing that I think is important to mention is that throughout the country right now, there's vast differences in the real estate market. There's still sections of the country where there is a massive housing shortage, better than it was, but still a massive housing shortage, bidding wars, and blah, blah, blah. And this is a bigger issue in those markets.
Yeah.
Versus our market that's sitting balanced, right? 5-6 months of inventory in single family homes, 12, 13 months on condos now in Southwest Florida. So you're selling a condo in Southwest Florida. You're getting the seller to pay your commissions pretty damn easy.
Yeah.
Right? It's a strong buyer's market
Right.
at that point. So, I just say that so the audience understands that this is very market specific. But either way, look, we've said this all along. This is an opportunity to grow the image of professionalism across the industry to the country.
Right.
And everybody stepping into a kick-ass buyer's presentation is critical. But like you said, we need that script for the people that go, I don't want to freaking go to your office and meet with you for 30 minutes. I want to meet you at 123 Main Street and look at the house.
Right.
So we need to be able to understand that. And I think the society will shift and understand the way the world works, but we're in that transition period now.
All right. So what's number 3?
The number 3 thing is sales training.
Sales training.
Okay. I mentioned that agent before. He's a consummate salesperson. By the way, a lot of weird perceptions about salespeople. I say that with tremendous respect. I say that with nothing but admiration, because yes, my extensive sales and psychology training can enable. It gives me the tools to manipulate people. I just choose to use it for good. And if you're a good person, sales skills makes you better. If you're a dirtbag, it makes you a bigger dirtbag. So assuming the people listening aren't dirtbags, the ability to overcome objections, the ability to read body language, the ability to understand tonality and voice and inflection and all of those things is absolutely huge, because real estate agents, for the most part, haven't had to deal with too many objections, right? As a buyer's agent, I'm free. People are going to use me because of my personality. Nobody's going to write a $10,000 or $30,000 check on personality. And as a listing agent, let's be honest, it was still rapport. The commissions was kind of standard in most markets, 5-6%. Everybody was doing, in most cases, a similar level of marketing. So a lot of it was still rapport building, and that's just not the case anymore, right? When you're sitting down, like I had this conversation with my brother, it's a 7-figure house. Okay. Do you want to pay the buyer's agent commission? How much would that be? 40 grand. No.
Yeah. Simple. That's an easy
No,
answer.
it's 40 grand. Okay. So if I say yes, I put 40 grand less in my pocket at the sale of my house. Yeah, I'm good. Thanks. You need to express to them intelligently and confidently and properly why it's in their best interest to do so. And that has to be from understanding salesmanship and communication skills and all this stuff. And I'm sorry, it's weak as shit in the real estate industry.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think it's something that we just haven't had the need in the real estate industry to develop. It's a muscle that's underdeveloped, and but at the same time, look, I feel like this is a huge opportunity, because if you come at it with the confidence of going, look, I know that I'm the best person for this person to use as a buyer's agent. This is now, and sorry to talk in circles, but this is what the the feedback has been with the types of agents that we've talked about. Some agents, when I ask them, hey, how's the commission thing treating you? They go, oh my God, I love it because now I know who's serious and who isn't. Like
Mm-hmm.
to them, it's like, hey, I know that if somebody signs that thing, they're with me and it's worth my time to spend on them and show them houses and pour into them. And if they're not signing it, that's okay. And there's other agents that are just so hurt by the word no, by the rejection. And one of the things, one of the pillars, I think, of being a good salesperson, two of the pillars of being a good salesperson is one, being able to be at peace with rejection. Like a fast no, it's better than just never getting a no or a yes.
And it's better than showing properties for 7 weekends in a row. You go, hey, I'm about to pick up your house. And they go, yes, I met a guy at a bar last night, Friday night, and he sold his house for sale by owner, and I bought the house this morning.
That's
That
my
shit's
point.
over.
That's my point. So that's good. And then the other thing is transfers. Like Alex Hormozy says, that sales is transfer of belief.
Mm-hmm.
And it's if I believe in something, like I have a huge belief in something, the sales cycle is to transfer that belief into you. And if I have a big belief that buying a property is the best financial move that you can make, and buying a property with me, it's even a better financial move than buying a property without me, I just need to transfer that belief to you. And if you believe that, you're sold. You're sold on me and you're sold on buying a house. And those two things, that's the two muscles that we need to start working on, is how develop all the skills to be able to transfer that belief. And then the other thing is just being okay with rejection. And look, if you are working through this and you're thinking through this and you're going, yes, but this lawsuit, whatever, I'm trying to get this thing signed, but I'm not getting it signed. It's okay. You'll get no's. Even the great salespeople, even the people that
Everybody gets a no.
and that's okay. You just need to get a lot of reps. So that's another thing that I don't think buyers agents have dealt with a lot. They deal with people that ghost them. They deal with people that low key say no to them, but they haven't dealt with the no in your face. I'm not gonna sign that. I'm not gonna pay that for you, and you gotta be okay with that.
Yeah, and the first step in being okay with that is understanding it's not personal.
It's not personal, and
It's
it
not.
will happen, and
And
it's okay
look, we are both great salespeople, and we're told no every day.
all the time.
Like
We're both married. We
yeah,
don't tell no all the
yeah.
time.
That's a different podcast, but yes. So, so like what we're talking about here, Ed, through a lot of this is a fair amount of like inner work. Like
Yes.
because what crossed my mind when you were talking a minute ago about like I believe that not only you buying a house is the right financial decision, the best one you can make, but buying it with me is the right and the best financial decision you can make. If you're listening to this and you don't 1,000% believe that in your mind and heart, I'm sorry. Like that's step one.
That's step one. That's totally step one. And look, I get it. You and I had a conversation about this, like about the last 2 years have, punched people in the mouth and they have crumbled their belief that the housing market is the right place to invest.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, work on that first. By the way, look at the pre-purchase consultation that we have. And I promise you, that's going to increase your belief that this is a good housing market to be in.
Yes.
So anyway, so that's number three. And then number four is, look, this is where when you start looking at what value you bring to the table, you need to not just think about you. If it is true, and I believe this, that you as a real estate professional, you are the quarterback of the most important financial move that your clients are making. A huge part of your value proposition is the team that you surround your client around. Is that proper?
No.
No, but it sounds good.
Surround yourself
So,
with.
okay, the team that you surround
Stick with tonality, bro.
your
We're good.
client with. And no, but that's important, right?
It's critical.
Like a client looks at the realtor, right, wrong, or indifferent. The client looks at the realtor as not the person that does the inspection, the appraisal, the loan, the title, not the person that does all of that, but the person that they can trust that will point them in the right direction when it comes
The
to
quarterback.
everything that has to be a house.
Yeah.
And that's why the quarterback is the perfect thing. The quarterback doesn't make all the plays, but he throws it to the right person.
Hands it to the right person. Yeah.
And this is why you now need to leverage that team that you have around you as your value proposition. Like, it's now more important than ever for you to be able to say, look, working with me means that you're going to work with the best professionals when it comes to title, which is going to save you blah blah blah, insurance, which is going to save you all of this, mortgages, which is going to save you all of this. Like, all of the value proposition of the people that you introduce to your clients, which if you're an agent, you should be introducing your clients to the insurance agent, the title company, the mortgage company, the inspection company, all of this. All of their value propositions now become your value proposition. Because if you think about it, if it wasn't for you, they wouldn't meet that mortgage lender. They wouldn't meet that inspector. They wouldn't meet that person. So make sure that you talk to your team, vet that team now more than ever, and put their value proposition into your value proposition presentation.
I got a hot take on
And
this.
dude, that's the easiest one.
Yeah, I got a hot take on this. I think this starts the end of the I have to hand out 3 business cards for every
The 3 business cards is stupid.
First
It's
of all,
stupid.
just to clear it up, there is no actual rule about that.
No,
That's not like
by the way, if you
law.
disagree with us, send us in the comments or send us an email with the law that proves us wrong, and we'll feature you on the next podcast.
Yeah, because that's not a thing. So I think more importantly than ever, look, we do it with our staff.
But wait, let's stick to that. You're saying, okay, this is the most important transaction of your life, or this is a very important transaction in your life for whatever reason, personal reasons, financial reasons, whatever. And we need to trust a fantastic lender on this. But here, you pick one of these 3 because I don't know which one to pick.
Yeah.
Like, what you're communicating is weakness. You're communicating weakness. Now, I understand if I'm in the realtor position, I understand how much responsibility you're taking and how difficult it would be to say, hey, you have to call this lender, because I promise you, the only way for me to uphold my promise and keep my promise of saving your money, of closing on time and all this is if you use this person and not the other person. I understand that that's a scary thought for a realtor, but rather than running away from this thought, lean into it, have a conversation with the lender and say, hey, lender, hey, hopefully, hey, Scott, and hey, Ed, I'm going to start doing this with my clients, but in return, I need you to do this, this, and this. I need you to uphold this, this, and this. But I'm sorry, when you send more than one person, you are communicating distrust, and you're communicating that you don't even know which one is the best person for your client.
And not to mention, how freaking stressful is it? Like, here, you have to make this decision. Because, bro, you had this today.
Yeah.
Right? The decision was made by this person called me back sooner.
Well, no. The lady said that she preferred to call the other lady instead of me because she's a girl and she feels like she would probably be more comfortable talking to a female rather than a man.
That, like,
you shouldn't make your financial decision based on that.
No, and as a real estate agent, I would argue it is your responsibility to not put your clients in that position.
But I'm sorry, if you're handed 2 cards, you feel like they're both the same.
Of course.
Like, when we send a referral to an agent, we don't go, oh, call any of these agents. No, we talk the agent up.
Right.
We tell them, we sell the agent. We tell them why this agent is the best person for them to work with. So it's unequivocal that that's the agent that they need to work with. And look, this may sound like it's, how do you call that? Self-fulfilling.
Mm-hmm. Self-fulfilling.
Self-fulfilling. But it really isn't, because the majority of people listening to this don't even know us. So don't send their cards. Like, send the cards of the person that you know will upkeep the promise and to have the same standards that you have as an agent.
And those are the conversations. Like, I get so excited. I've only had this like 2 or 3 times when an agent calls me up and goes, hey, I'm building out my value proposition for my clients in this new world we live in. What can I count on you to add to that? Bro, that's a tee up, man. That is a perfect. And by the way, those are the conversations you should have with your title person, your inspector, your attorney, your whatever.
I would
and
add
a lender,
something.
of course.
I would add something to that too, especially with the lending side. The lender is probably going to talk to your client before you start showing them property. So technically, they're going to talk to the client before you actually have to get that document signed. Make sure that part of your lender's script is to sell you as the right partner for the client.
Right.
Like, it's very important that you tell your lender, look, it will be super awkward for me to say that I am amazing at this, this, and this, and I build rapport more than anybody else, and I do all these things. So I want you to communicate that to them.
Yeah, because it sounds weird coming from you.
It sounds super weird coming from you. It's like, look, we always give this example. If we talk about rates, we sound like it's a sales pitch. As much as we try not to, but when a realtor talks about rates, it doesn't sound like a sales
Right.
pitch.
Just
Same
information.
thing, just information. It's the same thing. So make sure that your inspector, your title company, your lender, like everybody else in your team, is selling you throughout the process.
And everybody should be selling one another.
Exactly.
Because what that does is that gives the client confidence. Okay, like, yeah, everybody I talk to says Scott and Ed are great. Everybody I talk to says Bob the inspector is great. Everybody I talk to, whatever. So, like, that's such a big piece of this, right? Like, when you're thinking through things, the question you should be asking yourself is, how do I instill, right? Transfer belief, like you just said. How do I instill unwavering confidence in things? Bro, you had a deal recently where you needed an extension, no fault of your own, just circumstances, right? You called up the buyer's agent and the listing agent, asked for an extension. Both of them gave you a referral on that call. And that was a lender. That is the most dreaded call to make.
Yeah.
There is nothing worse, specifically listing
Dude,
agents.
what did I tell you right before I made the call? I'm like, we were bullshitting. And I said, I'm going to stop pushing this call.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop putting this off.
Yeah, I'm going to stop putting this off. I just need to make this call.
And take my medicine.
Yeah, I just need to do it.
And because of your confidence, because of the way you handled yourself in that, not only did they say okay, but they said I appreciate it, and then they said, hey, I got a buyer that I'd like you to call. Like, will you? And I love this. Will you work with me?
Yeah.
Like, it's a very interesting thing. And by the way, it's nothing magical you did.
No.
It's nothing magical you did, but it's the culmination of all of the things we're discussing here.
But I think that's the punchline. It's nothing magical. If you think about the takeaways are simple. Have a 30-minute script, and if that feels like work, shit, it's work. You make a lot of money on this. So have a 30-minute script, 30 minutes where you know what objections are and all that. And by the way, look,
Script/presentation.
Yeah, script presentation. But as an agent, I'm sorry, you should be so happy to be able to tell your clients, look, it's super important for me that if you're going to sign a document that says that you are liable to pay me a certain amount, you sit with me for at least 30 minutes and I can show you why I am the right partner for you. And let me tell you something. I don't care what clients say and what fears clients have and all that. If you're an agent, if you're a real professional in this field, you've had that conversation 100 times more than a client have had that conversation. So the limited amount of questions that a client may have, or objections, or obstacles that a client might give you, you should be so prepared for those that you should welcome them, like you say. So the takeaways are simple. Have a 30-minute presentation, have a 30-second script, know how you get paid and know how to communicate how you get paid, have some sales training, or at least have some sales stories and confidence and know what the tonality should be.
Training.
And then the fifth thing is just, what was the fifth thing?
I don't know. Look, I think...
No. Fuck you. What's the fifth thing? Sure, you got to cut this.
Well, this isn't short. It's the other people.
Oh, this is short. This is the other people.
Oh, yeah.
The last thing. Oh, okay. That's the fourth thing. And then the fifth thing is leverage your team.
Yeah.
Leverage your team not only to present their value proposition as yours, but to have them sell you throughout the process.
Now, look, we've done enough sales training in our life. We've trained enough staff. We've trained enough real estate agents to know that this is what's going through some people's minds. Yeah, But there was this one time
Yeah,
with
yeah,
this
yeah.
one guy who, guys, you got to build a sales process for the masses and you have to accept the outliers.
Yeah.
Okay. I know I know, I'll tell you a funny story. So one group of client that I particularly enjoy working with, what I call my spreadsheet clients. So I had a spreadsheet client called me up one day and she said, "Hey, I'm flying in. I'm going to look at houses. I have a spreadsheet filled out. I'd like to send it to you because there's a couple spots for you to fill out." And I'd never seen a spreadsheet with so much love. There was a legend with colors. Okay. I was light blue as the lender. I had to fill out the
Nice.
light blue sections. There were 14 or 18 houses on this thing. It was amazingly thought out. There were, I don't know how many freaking columns and rows, but I'm looking at the spreadsheet and it had a wife's preference score, a husband's preference score, and a blended score, like 1 to 10. And like I'm looking at it and like I'm doing the math in my head and it's wrong. And I thought to myself, the way this client is going to love me the most
Yeah.
is if I could fix her spreadsheet. So I call her up about 15 minutes after she sent me the spreadsheet. And so I'm like, "Hey," forget her name, Mary will say, "Hey Mary, it's Scott." And she's like, "Hey, did you get the spreadsheet?" I go, "I did. It's why I'm calling." She goes, "Oh, you done with it already?" I said, "No, no, no, Mary, that's going to take me a couple of hours. That's a legitimate homework assignment." I said, "But I'm calling because I think I found a mistake in your spreadsheet." And she went, "That's impossible." I said, "In looking at the detail, how detailed the spreadsheet is, I would tend to agree with you, but I think I might have caught a mistake." And she's like, "Hold on 1 second, let me pull it up." She pulls it up. And she's like, "What's the mistake?" I'm like, "Okay." I go, "House number 4. Your preference is an 8. Your husband's preference is a 6. But the rating is 7. The average is 7.6. It should be 7." And she went, "No, no, 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 no. I count for 75% of the opinion."
That's
And I
great.
said, "Well, I said 2 things on that. Number one, that's impressive. Number two, your poor husband. But let me
That's
get to work on the spreadsheet."
amazing.
So my point is this: a hyper analytical client at that level, that's building in that level of formulas before she steps foot in a house,
Yeah.
is different than the average consumer.
Right. Right.
Right. And
Facts.
and I just closed one client, shout out Brad. Um, he went over with our loan coordinator, he went over his disclosures. Bro,
Line by line. I
three
remember. I
hours.
remember my clients weren't getting cold
Yeah,
because,
3
yep.
hours. I have other clients that go, "What's how much do I got to bring to closing? What's my monthly payment? What's my interest rate?" Thank you.
Okay, cool. Most
So
clients,
most clients.
by the way.
So when you have those outliers, whatever they are, okay, a person whose family was in real estate, a hyper analytical, an engineer, a blah blah blah, whatever, just you can't. It's impossible to build a system and a presentation for everybody. If you could build something that scratches the itch of 80% of people, and anything above 80 is gravy, in my opinion, it's a win. So don't go driving yourself nuts because of that one guy who once did or said blank. We got to think about that as the masses. And then as you get more skillful, you'll be able to adopt your script and your presentation to those outliers. I think you and I at this point do it very well. But you get hit with a new personality type. You're like, "Yep, screwed that one up."
Yeah.
And when that happens, just reflect on it and learn. It's how
Yeah.
we get better.
Yeah. That's right. So, takeaways from this call, or from from this call. I'm used to that. Takeaway from this episode: you're going to get the buyer's presentation. You're also going to get an email, or I'm sorry, a video of us delivering that buyer's presentation. So make sure that if you want that, send us an email or comment and we'll send you that.
info@realestateoftomorrow.com.
There you go. Number 2, you're going to get the slides and the presentation itself, right? So you're going to get all the slides and the presentation. That's it. That's the takeaway. Use that presentation, make it your own, change it, do whatever you want with that, and focus on the 5 things that we talked about today.
And look, just a plug for the podcast. Over 2 years ago, this is the Real Estate of Tomorrow podcast, where we give people the tools they need today to prepare for the real estate market of tomorrow. Okay. And 2+ years ago, we brought this up and we started laying the groundwork and I think that was our first or second episode.
That's our second episode. When I said that this was going to hurt the buyer's agent more, and you said the listing agents more, and you were wrong.
So, look, for our early adopters of this podcast, first of all, thank you from the bottom of our hearts, and secondly, this was our vision for this podcast. Okay, we saw this market rapid, like changing like never before. We're now in it, okay? And not that we saw this change, we just saw change coming.
Yeah.
The next big thing that's going to change real estate is AI. We got to do episodes on that, or more episodes on that. But guys, stay tuned into this podcast because we all know that the world is changing around us. And for those that stay on the cutting edge of it, this is nothing but great. And I know a lot of agents, like you said, that love this, that have adopted, that have a killer buyer's presentation, that are increasing their retention, that their business is really growing from this. And that could be every one of you listening to this. You just have to, you just have to adapt. And we're giving you all the tools to adapt in this episode and prior episodes and future episodes. So my plug is over.
Guys, we're getting a lot of questions on where you can find us on YouTube, and I am very sorry, but we've made this difficult for listeners. Even though this is the Real Estate of Tomorrow podcast, you can find us on YouTube with Team FQ. If you're wondering why, just go to the YouTube page, follow the YouTube page, and watch not only the episodes, but also other videos that we put out. So follow us on YouTube.
All right, everybody, listen, thank you very much for your time. We all know this is the best damn podcast out there, better preparing you for what's happening tomorrow than every other podcast. So make sure you share this with all your friends. I'm Scott DiGregorio. He's Edgardo Ballantyne. This is the Real Estate of Tomorrow podcast. See you at the next episode.
Hey, if you're a realtor out there and you're killing it after the lawsuit, let us know. We would love to interview you and see what are you using right now. What are you doing right now that you weren't before that's working in this new world of real estate. See you later.